Hi y'all, and welcome back. I'm Thea, your friendly neighborhood digital privacy nerd. If you're the type who likes to know what we're getting into today, here's the plan. First, I'm going to do a little visual description and land acknowledgement. Then we're going to do something a little different today. We'll talk still about tools and alternatives to the platforms we use every day, but instead of jumping in and using this time to try and do a bunch of stuff, we're going to set goals and make plans for the future. So if you're a lists girly, this session is for you. If you're a calendar girly, this session is for you. If you are neither of this, if you're a secret third thing, then yeah, still come hang. I love it. Thanks so much for joining me today. Let's build a better future. So my name is Thea, pronouns she, her, hers. I am a light-skinned, tan-ish woman with brown hair and brown eyes, and I am wearing a reddish, purplish shirt. I am just double checking some things here. I'd love to know who's watching. So please pop in the chat if you're comfortable, pop a name or a username in and any questions you have. And yes, we are. Okay, good. Like, yeah. Please use the chat. Makes me feel like I'm not alone here. If you know of any plays about digital privacy, that's something that I definitely want to know about. So we will once again, on this last session, start with Adrian Wong's digital land acknowledgement, which I will read. Since our activities are shared digitally to the internet, let's also take a moment to consider the legacy of colonization embedded within the technologies, structures, and ways of thinking we use every day. We are using equipment and high-speed internet not available in many Indigenous communities. Even the technologies that are central to much of the art we make leave significant carbon footprints, contributing to changing climates that disproportionately affect Indigenous peoples worldwide. I invite you to join me in acknowledging all this, as well as our shared responsibility to make good of this time, and for each of us to consider our roles in reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship. That is again Adrian Wong of Spiderweb Show. And again, I'm going to highlight the technologies, structures, and ways of thinking. We are always and especially looking at those ways of thinking. So we've talked about how these services that make things more frictionless for us are usually ways to collect our data. But they're also collecting skill sets. And I've been starting to think about where I've given up skills. And look, you don't have to do everything by hand all of the time, but I'm thinking about when am I practicing my navigational skills versus relying on maps? When am I practicing my relational skills rather than relying on social media to keep me passively updated? When am I practicing my research and critical thinking skills rather than relying on the first search result? These things are all muscles, and we're increasingly being encouraged to allow these muscles to atrophy. Again, I'm not saying we all have to do long division the long way. Honestly, I don't know if I can still do long division the long way, but what AI has especially made really clear is that these platforms are trying to think for us. They're trying to take that skill from us. And again, for me, I want to be more aware of when I choose that and when I don't. There are a number of skills I want to maintain for myself, and for the simplest reasons, right? If my phone dies and I'm in a place I don't know well, I want to be able to navigate out. I want to be able to ask for help. I want to have these skills still. I think there's a risk in becoming reliant on these very convenient technologies. And they want us to be reliant. That is how they make their money. If you're like, what does this have to do with privacy? Valid question. These products are making it hard to stop using them, because if you stop using them, they don't get to collect data on you. They don't get to feed you ads or information. They don't get to manage your life in the same way. So part of protecting your privacy is reducing reliance on them, which is hard. That's why we're making long-term plans. And my priorities might be different from yours as we go through today. You might have a good relationship with social media. I do not. And that might be low on your list of things to get away from. I recently deleted Spotify so that I could use that money. I had a premium membership. I use that money to like buy music that I then own, build my collection, explore genres that I want. Like I want to use my creativity to create my own playlists and play around in that sandbox. But that might not be something that you want to put your energy into. That might not be a priority for you, or you might work in the music industry and like need to have access to the latest stuff. So that might not be feasible in the same way. So in the interest of transparency, the first tools we're going to look at are tools to replace like mainly Google services, but also Apple services, that sort of list of baked in, like we use them every day things, because Google especially is the biggest offender and the biggest thing most of us are functionally reliant on. But before we do that, I want you to look at your priorities. Pull out a piece of paper or a little notebook or something and make a little list of the services that you use that you know are tracking you. The ones you're like, oh, I know it's watching me, but it's so useful, or like it's baked into my life, or like everyone else is on it, but I can't move away, and therefore I can't move away. Um, Take a look at the apps on your phone. Last week I said to delete the ones that you're not actively using and re-download them when you need them. I stand by that. Like, again, a lot of this stuff is not about perfectionism. It's not about never again necessarily. But you also don't have to be like fully available to them all of the time. I'm going to find a link that I want to share with you that is a study from, I believe it's pCloud. It's a cloud technology. Um, just finding my little data capture information. Okay. So this is a handy little list of the apps that sell your data, but also collect. So top of the list is like which ones are selling your data to other people, like who is sharing your data. So you got Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Uber Eats, and Trainline are fascinatingly like the top 5 of selling your data. And this is the link I popped in the chat if you want to like hang on to this, explore it more often. But I want to look at this as like a reference in case there's stuff where you're like, okay, obviously Apple, obviously Meta, like what else is collecting information? And some of them are collecting information for their own, as it says, for their own benefit, for their own research, for their own ability to like continue pushing their own services. But, you know, I looked at this and I was like, why does Instagram need my health and lifestyle information? Why is it collecting that? What does it need that for? And don't worry about the things that are dictated by work. Like, again, this is not about perfection. If you have a work email on Google, sometimes that's just what it is. You can talk to your org about changing email clients, or if you run the organization, you can make it a priority, even like over the next year, to change your org's email client. If I zoom in on this, do you get to, yeah, I know these are really small. Let me go ahead and actually like zoom in on what this actually is. Yeah, if you run an organization, like you can decide over the next year, okay, like we're going to change over the org's email client. But sometimes if it's not under your control, you just have to let it go. Like it is what it is. I'm not going to tell you to quit your job just because they use a Gmail account, right? But I do think, and I stand by, like every little bit counts. Every piece that you get to put into this counts. So go ahead and look at the list you made, or look at this list and mentally like circle your personal top priorities. You don't need to factor in effort yet, just the things that you look at where you're like, man, I really wish this was private. um, Things that you use regularly, things that you use a lot. And we're starting with Google for selfish reasons. It's because the big one for me is Google. It's what I've used for years. And it's what like I think a lot of people that I know are also really baked into. And it's the whole suite. It's email, it's cloud storage, it's cloud storage, including but not limited to doc sharing and photo storage. It's Google Docs, it's a calendar. I live and die by my calendar. And you might use the Apple version of these products. And I think we've talked about they are mostly better encrypted. So if they're not at the top of your list to switch, I get it. As I've said before, Apple is under a lot of government pressure to add surveillance options. So I would at least consider preparing to switch before that happens, or in case that happens. But if it's not at the top of your list, completely understand. The next ranked on the list of major tracking corporations is Meta. You saw them at the top of those like social apps. Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and that's just a little harder, right? Because everybody's already on them. You can get on Signal, the messaging app we've talked about in the past, but you might not be able to get all of your friends off of WhatsApp, right? And Facebook and Instagram are so essential for me for like my work. Everyone is connected through that. That's like, people don't hand out business cards anymore. They're like, are you on Instagram? So we'll get to that. But first, let's start with de-Googling. This is session 3. So even if you didn't watch for, earlier sessions, I'm assuming you're already aware of at least some of the threats to our privacy online. And if you're showing up here, then you're at least somewhat invested in protecting your privacy. So I'm not going to take the time to try to convince you that Google is bad. The information is out there, but the point of this session is not like panic or anxiety or, you know, all of the sort of Instagram, like 8 things that they're bad. You know, we don't have to like focus too much on that. This session is about taking action. So let's go. De-Googling has kind of a huge following on the internet. There are dozens of us, dozens. There are subreddits, there are articles. If you're ever curious, want to know more, you can go and search de-Google and you're going to get a ton of results. We're here to make a plan. So let's break down what de-Googling would entail. And I'm going to talk through my plan and like what I'm looking at, hopefully as a model for you. And this, if this aligns with what you're doing, then awesome. And if you're like, oh, this isn't really the service that I need, but I have this other thing that I want to move away from that's Google or it's otherwise, maybe this can be a model for you to then like make that jump, or you can start working on your own plan while I'm talking through this. So since I'm a Google person, unfortunately, here are the Google services that I'm prioritizing moving away from. First is browser and search engine. We covered that in session 1, so hopefully check, 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 we're done with that. The second is email. I want to get away from Gmail. I don't want them having all of my communications. And again, I'm looking at my personal email. My work email is out of my hands, although I will be annoying my boss about that for the next foreseeable future. Number 3 is calendar. I really rely on my calendar. I need an alternative to that. Number 4 is chat and meet. I use this, but I wanted to mention it since it is sort of like a staple of what they do. Number 5 is their shareable docs, right? Google Docs. So like baked into everything I do these days. Number 6 is cloud storage. So it's a higher importance for me than some of the other things, but it is like a slightly more difficult replacement. Number 7 is maps, and number 8 is YouTube. I realized initially I had meant to do these in the order that we would cover them, and it's sort of true, and but it's not in any sort of like urgency order. We'll also cover definitely 1 through 6. If there's time, I'll talk about maps and YouTube. But we'll get there when we get there. If you're not, again, if you're not currently using the Google version of these, take a moment to look at the privacy reputation of the companies, of the products that you are using. Pretty much if it's Google, Apple, or Microsoft. Microsoft is like for email clients, Outlook or Hotmail. Or if you're still using an ISP email, it's Internet Service Provider email like Yahoo or SBC Global. Either you're vulnerable to them tracking your data, or you're more vulnerable to for attacks due to outdated security, or both. So hopefully in session 1, you changed your browser and search engine to something more secure like DuckDuckGo and or Firefox with Privacy Badger and uBlock Origin. Check, done. Love that. Let's tackle email next. we did something easy, right, last time. So we're gonna start here with something a bit bigger. So what are the steps that you need to take to switch your email? And first, I'm going to bring the focus back on doing this with ease and flexibility. So that's not perfectionism and not urgency. It doesn't have to all happen at once. It can't happen all at once. It's like changing your mailing address. Some people aren't going to get the message right away. Some people aren't going to get the message at all. And on a personal level, I don't feel like I have huge chunks of time to dedicate to this when I'm not doing a whole session about it. So I'm going to lay out the steps and I'm going to make a plan to do them over time. So with that in mind, here is how I would approach this. Step one is picking an email client that prioritizes my privacy. My recommendations are going to be Proton Mail and Tuta, and I'm going to put links to these in the chat. We talked a little bit about Proton and Tuta last time. They are privacy focused. They are based outside of the US. They have apps for Android and iOS. They're encrypted. They're open source. We love open source. We talked about open source last time. Proton is based in Switzerland, which has some of the best privacy laws in the world. I lied to you last week. Switzerland is not in the EU. I did not know this. And Tuta is based in Germany. And the last time I checked, Germany is in the EU. So both of them are covered by, should the company at some point not have a motivation to protect your privacy, there's another layer, the privacy onion of legal repercussions for them not protecting your privacy, which is always nice to have that backup. But there are also companies that have like established their focus on privacy. So that is what they do. In this case, it's an email client. You are going to have to, I can't do all the work for you on this one, unfortunately. You're going to have to look at their services and see what's important to you. So here's a side-by-side. This link is a side-by-side of the two with all of their like features and everything. This is just a little handy guide. If you're like, the two of these are close enough, let me just see which one I want to go with. There's a little link to that. They both have free versions with 1 gig of storage and pricing tiers on top of that for more features and storage. Tuta leans cheaper. Proton has more features. Both have starting discounts and plans that range from $3 to $5 to $15. 15 on Proton side includes their full range of products beyond email. So Tuta has email and calendar services. Proton has email, calendar, docs, VPN, and password manager services. So you may not want to put all your information into one place, even if it is encrypted. Or you might want to look at like a one-stop shop for ease, like something where you can just be like, okay, I'm going to pick the encrypted thing. Both options are legitimate. You could switch over to Proton, and then when it comes time to renew, like switch your VPN or storage away and keep the email, or you can mix and match. The world is your clam. And again, you're allowed to have more than one email address. You can sign up for a free account with both and send yourself emails from them to see what you like better. You can pick one as your main email and get a paid account, or you can keep the other free to send promo codes and subscriptions to or whatever. Or you can keep them both free. You can choose what works for you and you can change it later if it doesn't. I'm talking about money. Money makes me anxious. I have avoided paid plans for all sorts of things over the years. And a big selling point of Google is that you don't have to pay them money. But you are paying them with your soul. Like you are working for them. You are feeding them their product. They are profiting from you. So if these are products you use, if you have it in your budget, if it's feasible for you, think about this as an investment in your future and in your safety and in the world you want to live in. You can also stick with the free version. The free email service is very serviceable. Like I'm just talking about money at this stage because I'm playing out my own inner arguments here. I'm used to some of the conveniences of features in Google, and I personally have a lot of photo storage. I need more than 1 gig to host what I already have, but I'll get to photo storage later. Basically, you can't buy a house by cutting back on lattes, but in most major cities, you can get the whole Proton suite and protect your privacy for 2 lattes a month, or the whole Tuta package for like a latte and a cookie. That's how I'm looking at it. So in my plan, step one, I'm going to give myself half an hour to do this research. Step one, research services, half an hour, week 1. And I'll put these steps in the chat as well. You know, if you're not taking notes, I'll like pop that in there as well, but I want to talk through them first. Step 2, sign up for a service and download the app on my phone. Okay, that's easy. Like I can sign up for free for both of these right now. That'll take a minute or two. So maybe I'll do the free one for a week. I'll do this all in week 1. And then step 2.5, right, is if I want to pick a paid plan. That I'm probably going to set for week 2. I'll probably know what I want after like a week of having these accounts. If I like, you know, I sign up for both of them in the first week and then I can check back over the course of the week when I have another minute here and there, think about it, sit with it. Picking a paid plan, paying for the plan, 5 minutes. That's all I'm going to plan for week 2. Spending money is strenuous and I need to recover. And then I can, you know, explore the paid features, see what I've invested in, see if I want my money back, like see what works. I haven't even told anybody that I've created these emails yet. Like this, right? Like this is just me getting my ducks in a row, and I'm still using my old account at this stage. So step 3, set up email forwarding for my old account. There are 2 ways to do this. So from Google, like you can do it from the new email, or you can do it from the old email. So in Google, you can go into settings and go to forwarding, and pop IMAP is the little like option under settings, and then you can add a forwarding address. This will only forward future incoming emails. It's exactly like setting up email or mail forwarding when you move apartments. You can always, alternatively, use your new email's automatic import to transfer everything over from your old account. Proton has an easy switch feature. In Tuta, I think you have to download the email client, but they also have the same thing where you just plug in your information from your old account and it will pull everything over so you don't miss anything in the future. It's just like packing up your old mail and moving houses. This takes maybe 5 minutes. So I'll do this in week 3. And then since it was only 5 minutes, I might also do step 4 in week 3. And that is sending an email to let everybody know my new address. You've gotten these emails before, right? If you're pre-email, you might have gotten the postcard, somebody being like, I have moved the address. This is my new address. And this is where it gets sticky for me. This is going to take at least half an hour. Writing the email is easy, right? Like, hi, I have a new email address. Please update your contacts. But just like sending postcards when you move houses, or however we update people now with like texting or vibes, like I have to choose who I'm going to email. Another handy thing Google does, if you go into your contacts in Gmail, if you're doing this from Gmail, you can look at your most frequent contacts. So when I do this, I'm probably going to go in, check all of them, do a quick scroll, and check anything I don't want to update for some reason, like if there's like a frequent contact that's old, outdated, or anything like that, or just somebody who doesn't need to know my email address anymore. I would send them all that email. Step 5 is also small. If I have another 5 minutes in this, what are we in week 4? I'd set my signature to in the new email address. You know, you can do the like, this is, you know, my name and maybe your job, and maybe you have your pronouns are in your signature, or whatever your job is doing these days, whatever your priorities are. Hopefully you have your pronouns in your signature. You can set your signature in the new email address to a little note that says like, hi, please note you're receiving this from my new email address. Please save my new email address. I like to put a deadline in these things so that people feel threatened to actually do it. I know when I've received them, I've been like, oh yeah, like I'll get to it later. I probably wouldn't actually stop checking the old, like you don't have to delete your old account right away, or at all. I probably wouldn't stop checking the old account right away, or at least for a long time. But I feel like if I say like, I'm going to stop checking this in 1 month, then people will see the note and actually be motivated to change. And step 6 is then just using your new account, you know, like responding emails from your own account, using that as your main, like all your email is being forwarded to this now. So you can just check this account and then log into the old one to check spam every once in a while, just in case there's anything that got lost. And that's it. And that's 1 month. And you've switched your email over in like spread out, maybe 2 hours of work, maybe an hour and a half, maybe not even that. Now, personally, the old account existing leaves open a bit of a question for me. excuse me, I'm gonna pop these steps for me, my little like changing my email cheat sheet in the chat. That's a lot of text. The old account leaves an open question for me, and that's like step 7, step 8. Like, do I want them hanging on to all of that data in their servers? Once I switch, like knowing that all of the old emails are still in the account, I personally would want to go and delete everything out of that old account. Like, have they already scraped it to build their AI tools? Maybe, but who knows? But I feel better knowing that they can't go back and continue to access or share that information. Should anyone be coming along requesting my information from Google, or trying to break in. In Gmail, this looks like going to your all mail view and selecting all at the top of the list, and oops, when it prompts you, you can select all conversations that match that search. And it'll go from selecting like 50 emails to, in my case, I was looking at it, it's like 2,000 emails. Direct link just in case you want to save this for later. A chat. When I switched to Proton Mail, being able to figure out who I didn't want to have my email was an unexpected bonus. Yeah. 6 years later, I still have my old Gmail account. I'm reading from the chat here from IHOP. Hi. I still have my old Gmail account as a burner account for spam signups, and I can see if any of those people have emailed me. I check it maybe once a week, but they don't have access to my primary inbox. Helpful, useful, good to know. Yeah, I think one of the myths for me has been like I have to blow up my entire old life in order to start a new one. And it's just not true. Like, or like I'm gonna have 18 email addresses that I have to check. It's just not true. Like it's not that much. You can have multiple apps on your phone. You can have multiple logins. You can leave it as a bookmark that you check once a week. You can delete the app from your phone when you're not using it. There are options. All right, so you select all the conversations, you take a deep breath, you hit delete. You go empty your trash, right? When you delete stuff, if you really want it gone, go empty your trash. This is an optional step. The main point of switching your email is to make sure they're not collecting future data, but I like to clean up after myself, right? Like leave it better than you found it. So that's email. I'm putting the steps, put the steps in the chat already, and I'm going to recommend that you put your steps in your calendar, say in June. Or look at a month when you know things will be slow and you have time. I know at HowlRound, like a lot of our live streaming stuff slows down in August. So I might look at August and say, okay, week 1 of August, I'm going to do these first steps. Week 2 of August, I'm going to do these next steps. Or if you're excited, start step 1 today. Start going off while I'm talking and like reading about all of these email clients, like whatever feels good for you. That is the goal. The goal is to do whatever feels good for you. And next is calendar. And I think we can jump right in because calendars come with Tuta and Proton. So I think it is easy, like again, like if you want to split everything across different platforms, that's great. But also it feels easy to just switch to whatever program you've already chosen. That's a much faster, much simpler switch once you've changed your email. So you pick your service. I would pick whatever I'd just chosen for the email. Import your calendars the same way that you imported your email. You can do the way you like share a Google Calendar, share a calendar that way. You can do it that way. You can also just hit import on your account and it'll pull everything over. You might have already done this in your email step, so I'm like not even blocking out time for this personally. And then the next step, step 3, is setting up and syncing any shared calendars that didn't import. Change whatever settings you like for your calendar. I color code everything. I'm obsessive like that. And I would set 10 minutes for this, just because you'll have to read through and find, like, if you knew where the settings were in your old thing, you'll have to figure out where they are in your new one. Maybe that's like 10 minutes in week 5. Step 4, download the app to your phone, update whatever notification settings you have. That'll probably take 5 minutes. Delete your old calendar app. That'll take 1 minute. And step 6 is just use your new calendar. And I just blasted through this, and I'm going to try to remember for our lovely ASL interpreters to speak more slowly. And I'm also going to copy those into the chat. But that does, like I said, like it feels like just a little extra bonus on doing the email one. And again, like I'm talking through these, but I'm also putting the steps in the chat. And I want you to be like doing your own version of this, like pull out a piece of paper and a piece of pen, a little notes app situation, a privacy-oriented notes app, those exist. And just like write down what works for you, plug things into your calendar, start thinking about when this works for you. I feel like this is a different session because normally I'm like, just do this, go do that. And I'm like, okay, and they're doing this. But this one's, it's about planning. It's about planning for the future. And that is doing something. Like that is also work. That is what gets in the way of me doing so many things, is like figuring out how and when to do them or which one to go with. So block out time. Block out time. Take the first step. Um, yeah. And again, like maybe you do your email and week 5 you're like raring to go, what else can we do? And then you do your calendar. Maybe you do your email and you're like, I'm tired, and then you do the rest of it in October. Like you're allowed, you're an adult, you're probably an adult, you can do whatever you want. Don't tell your parents I said that. Okay, stretch, take a breath, take a glass of water, drink a glass of water. That was a lot. I'm gonna have a glass of water. But it's also very achievable, right? And hopefully this is useful for you. Like I used to think that my brain struggles with large projects that seem to have a lot of moving parts, and then I realized that I've been doing theater my whole life. What my brain actually struggles with is identifying what the pieces of a large project are if I've never done it before. So hopefully demystifying and breaking it down like this is as useful for you as it has been for me. If not, then take this time to go delete apps off your phone and use your password manager to update your passwords. Okay. Next on my list is chat and meet. We already talked about Signal. Assuming we're looking at personal accounts again and not network business accounts, we can check that one off. Although Signal has a desktop option. If Pete Hegseth can use it for work, so can you. Google Meet, or whatever FaceTime video conferencing app you use, is a little different. I haven't found a replacement that has the same level of smoothness in my experience. Zoom has invested in their own security to protect from outside services, but in terms of privacy, I don't know that Zoom is awesome. Like, I don't know why they need access to my location. They have access to my location. I can't seem to turn it off. If you know how to turn it off, let me know. They shouldn't have access to that. Why do they have it? I do think Zoom is the lesser of two evils when compared to Google. Unfortunately, we are doing this session on Zoom, again, for stability. In terms of functionality, it's the best functioning option I've used for like professional situations. But I'd also like to introduce you to Jitsi Meet. It's free. You don't even have to download it. You can just use it in your browser. You can create an account, or you can just launch right into a meeting from the browser. It's entirely free, and it's an entirely open source project. We love an open source project. In my experience, it doesn't have the same like noise canceling, like aggressive noise canceling options as Zoom. So I am more careful in when I use Jitsi, like how I use Jitsi. But if you're interested in trying something different than Zoom, if you want to invest in open source platforms and an internet that doesn't rely or exist entirely in corporate spheres, set your next meetings on Jitsi. Start living in the world you want to live in. And the more we use these platforms, the more we invest in these platforms, and the better they're going to get, right? So Google Meet, check. All right, that one was easy. The steps are delete Google Meet from your phone or whatever your platform is, and start scheduling meetings on Jitsi or Zoom instead. Or again, both. Like, you don't have to only use one product. You can spread out your information so you are harder to track. So let's go back to something a little more laborious. This is a slightly bigger project now, and that's storage. I'm grouping like cloud storage in all together. So my phone backs up all my photos on the cloud. That's the same cloud that Google is storing all my docs in. It's different folders, but it's all adding up to the same like storage amount, right? And I like my photos, and I use video for work. If you're an actor and you're doing self-tapes, like you know how fast that stuff fills up. So I'm looking for cloud storage that is at least comparable to Google. I currently pay I think like $3 for 200 gigs. So that's something that I'm looking to kind of match. And this is where it gets sticky because there are kind of three options that form a Venn diagram of options. I can pay money for the conveniences I'm used to having. I can delete more stuff, so I need less storage. This is a general inheritance of hoarding, so I'll just say that's going to be hard for me. And I can also choose to store things not on the cloud. I can store them locally where I won't have access to them wherever I go. I may not need access to everything wherever I go. Either way, step one is going to be the same for all of these things, right? Step one is research my options. And there are a lot of these. The good news and the bad news about storage is that there are so many options. There are actually a lot of like privacy focused options. I'm going to narrow it down to the ones that I was most excited about. Proton has storage as a part of their bundle. Internext is quite popular. It's also open source and provides like serious bang for your buck. It's $11 a month for a terabyte versus Proton's 500 gigabyte for their unlimited plan. I'm also putting Mega on my rec list because it's $9.50 for 2 TB, and it also has the largest free storage I've seen at 20 gigs. So if you want enough storage for the basics, and if you're looking for the free option, like Mega is a pretty good choice. And I'm again going to copy and paste these here. So if you're just looking for storage, like also like thinking about how am I replacing these services? These are all decent and price might be a deciding factor, but they also have some like other features. Some offer VPNs or password managers. Proton also has docs for online editing. And I realized in the order of for reviewing, I think we skipped the Docs Office one on the list. I mentioned LibreOffice last week as an online replacement for the Microsoft Office suite. But if you're looking for the online or clouds-based Google Docs replacement, I like Proton and I like OnlyOffice. If you're looking straight up, I'm putting OnlyOffice in the chat. If you're looking straight up for like a Google Docs, like I'm sharing files thing, OnlyOffice is great. Proton is also wonderful. The one thing I would flag with Proton is if you're looking to share something quickly, it has like a two-factor authentication. You send something to somebody, they confirm that they've received it, and then you confirm that they're the right person to be opening it. So there's a bit of a back and forth. It is very security oriented, which in some ways is great. And in other ways, if you're working with large groups of people, something like that, OnlyOffice might be a little smoother. So if you don't need that editing to be a part of your drive storage, if you're willing to use like two separate functions, or if that's not a thing that you use a lot, if Google Docs or the equivalent isn't a thing that you use a lot, then Internext and Mega are great. If you're looking again for a one-stop shop, Proton keeps coming through for that. And as I said, you have the option to also not use cloud storage at all. You can buy an external hard drive. And then you're not paying a subscription fee. Like I love not paying a subscription fee. I love making a one-time payment when I can. And then manually, you can go and just back stuff up to that hard drive whenever you need to. That is an option that you have. There's also something in between that I just want to tell you about. A secret third thing. It's a network attached storage device, or a NAS. It's a physical external hard drive essentially that connects to your network so you can access that hard drive anywhere via like the internet, or essentially a VPN. They're a little more expensive, but again, it's a one-time purchase. Or you can build yourself one if you're feeling spicy. And if you're really feeling spicy, remember that I'm building this session with the intent to make it easy and low effort to switch over to these things. I'm not recommending products that have like clumsier or more advanced interfaces. I'm trying to find a balance with like ease of use and privacy. User experience is very important in what I'm looking for alongside privacy, second only to privacy. So you can jump on one of these or you can go look for something more hardcore. You have options. You have a lot of options. There may maybe too many options. This one got overwhelming for me as I was researching it, but it's the same as anything. The first step on this is do some research. Give yourself like half an hour. And then honestly, stop doing research. Like after half an hour, I don't think you're gonna find anything else that you're like, I have a bad habit of rabbit holing. Like I'll get on the bus or I'll be watching TV. I'll do my big screen, little screen and just scroll and scroll and scroll, trying to look for the best thing. But there are a lot of good options. And at a certain point, the best is pretty negligible. I'm seeing in the chat, one thing to consider about an external hard drive is that you want to store it where you can easily grab it in the event of an evacuation. As those of us in Southern California experienced, keep it accessible, keep the stuff accessible, have the things, not just hard drives, but all of your things that are crucial. Make sure that they're easy to grab. What does this have to do with privacy? Everything, right? We talked about like, and now I'm going on a tangent. I'm so sorry. I just like, it's so interesting to me how connected all of these things are, that these products are built to keep you, to trap you, to lock you in so that you keep giving them information, you keep opening up your doors to them. But they have like our most sacred, precious things. And as we're using this technology, as like Adrian Wong talks about, these things have a climate impact. Streaming video, as I am doing right now, has a climate impact. All of our information that we're accessing, like obviously our computers are plugged into electricity, but so are the servers that all of the stuff that we're accessing is hosted on. AI has an immense impact. Google gave up their climate commitments, whether or not they were keeping them before. They gave up even the pretense of being committed to the climate when they decided to invest in AI. The United States is pursuing coal because of the like perceived demand, the push that honestly these tech companies are making for AI, for ChatGPT. Again, it is a tool. It is not that there isn't a use for it, but this sort of like, oh, I can just like write an email with it sort of use is so, it has a ridiculous impact on the environment. I get so mad about this stuff. I get so into this stuff. But we are here to choose things that serve us, that align with our values, that serve our daily lives, right? And like our own ease, while also allowing us to sleep better at night, knowing that we have, that we know what we're getting into, that we're making choices about what we're getting into, that we're making choices about what is worth the deals that we're making. And on that note, let's go back to cloud storage. You can have it online. You can have it on a hard drive, networked hard drive. You can have it on a regular hard drive. You can manage it manually. Step 1, half an hour, do some research. Step 2, week 2, we're starting the clock over from whenever you feel like it. Right? Like you don't have to do this right after you do your email. You can do this before you do your email. You can do this at any time. You can do this in November, whatever you want. Pick a service, sign up for that service. Step 3, download everything from your Google Drive or your unsecured old storage, Dropbox, Box, whatever that is. It might take a couple hours to process, but it should only take a few minutes of your time if you're like calculating for time the way I do, like let's say 5 minutes to go figure out how to download everything. And then like let it run. Step 4, there's some branches for me. And it's similar to the email question. Like if you're just replacing your storage with a one-stop shop, like swap, download your things and then just upload them to the new service. This will take time. You know, you might have to leave it running for a while, but again, it should be like for you in terms of the time that you're leaving for it, I would say 10 minutes to just gather everything, drag and drop, make sure it's running. However, mentally, actually, I'm going to amend that because I would also say like, this is something that I'm checking back on for the next day or so. So knowing that I'm going to be like, it can be a day where I have a lot of meetings and I'm by my computer. I'm just checking to make sure that this is still going. However, branch 1, just upload everything. Branch 2, if you've decided to split your information across multiple accounts, or if you're only going to store some of your storage in the cloud and not all of it, or if you want to use this time to delete old stuff, So you don't have to get as much storage in your new account. You know, you went from like having a lot of storage to going like, I just wanted this free 20 gig option. What needs to go up there? This might take a little longer. If you're not doing a direct transfer, give yourself half an hour to look at what you have and make a plan. Step 4, branch for this thing is make a plan of how to switch it over. Step 4.5 is doing the plan, you know? This one really is like moving. Either you can pay a service to pack up your apartment, or you can do it yourself and deal with all of your stuff in the process. And that's like the emotional thing of like, do I need to keep this? But nobody's kicking you out of your house. Nobody's kicking you out of your computer. You don't have to do this all at once. This isn't, again, like, this doesn't have to be urgent. You don't have to delete your old cloud storage on any kind of timeline. So you can finish that step however you want. And then moving on to step 5, once you've secured, you know that everything is there, then you can delete your old account. Well, that's the last of the like really hard de-Googling tasks. When I think about de-Googling, I'm like, oh God, it's so baked into my life. This is massive. But when you break it down, like, it's a number of services, it's a number of steps, but that is all stuff that when I look at my calendar, I think I could do that in the next 6 months luxuriously. I will say, bad at managing my time and knowing how much time things are going to take. So acknowledging that things will come up and I will go, oh, I don't want to do that this week. Or, you know, even if it's only 5 minutes, it's going to feel like a lot more. But I'm pretty sure if I put all this in my calendar, I can do it in the next year. So that is the last of the substantial tasks that you can do by yourself. Before we wrap up here, we'll talk a little bit about social platforms, but since they are by definition like social, there's not as much stuff that you can do by yourself. I know I'm like throwing a lot of information out there on this one. And if you're watching this later, like feel free to like pause. I know I'm saying this like 45, 50 minutes in, but feel free to like pause the video or go back. This will be published to be rewatched if you want to rewatch it, or just, you know, copy and paste all of that stuff and set a time in your calendar to like think about how these work. I am running through this because I want to respect your time. I said this would be an hour and I want to make it an hour. But I also want to give you space to do something. That was the pitch, right? Do something. Okay. And for a moment, we'll talk about socials. This one I'm excited to talk about, and I'm just going to say this is a very like dreamy take, but everything's a dreamy take, right? Before you get into it. Social platforms, we can't, any one of us, like I can't be like, I am going to go use a different social platform because I need all my other friends to be on it. It's sort of like Signal also. Like I need to go and recruit individuals and be like, hey, do you want to be on this platform? Hey, do you want to be on this platform? But that is only as hard as we make it, right? We just broke all of this other stuff down into smaller bites, and you can keep breaking those bites down. I just realized my script is out of order. That's what's happening here. Live events are so thrilling. This is your, what was I was talking about social platforms. Dear Lord. I got so excited about this. I was like, I want to talk about this. Then I was like, no, let me just like remind people that they can take their time. All right, here we are. This is your life. We're gonna pick up there. This is your life. You're not beholden to my timeline. You're not beholden to Google's idea of what's best for you. I'm gonna go back to like the de-Googling for just a moment. It can be scary to hold the power. Give yourself time to get used to the idea that like you run your life. I know it sounds obvious, but Google's playing like Jafar from Aladdin here, trying to run things from behind the curtain. Like, break the hourglass. Don't get hypnotized. I haven't watched Aladdin in a long time, so I'm actually realizing that I don't remember if that's actually what happens. But you see the parallel. Wizard of Oz is, I'm mixing metaphors. This is where we kind of went off into the like crazy part. But the point is, I want things to be easy, right? As I've said, switching away from these services shouldn't be this hard. But also some of the solutions that we're given to our daily life, like by these massive corporations, aren't the things that actually should be easy. My goal is to make it easy for you to look at some of these options, say like, yeah, that feels right for me, and make that choice. Like amongst what I'm giving you, you can just be like, oh yeah, that one, and then ignore the rest. If you find yourself buried too deep in research or putting it off because it feels like too much, or if you've given yourself too many options, then if I've given you too many options, then like I've failed to support you in that. Like I'm trying to balance. I just want to give you a little transparency. I'm trying to balance like allowing you to make the choice and exercise the power that you have. And remember that you are not beholden to these products. Like you get to live one wild and crazy life, right? You get to make those choices however you want it. And balancing that with not drowning you in too many options that aren't actually that different. So if you find yourself getting overwhelmed, walk away for a sec, drink some water, close your eyes, take a breath, let yourself to catch up to what you want and what you need. You might need to take a week to process. You might need to like shut this down and be like, next week, I'm going to think about this again. Or allow this to come back into my life when it needs to. I get it. I just ask, this is how my brain works, that you put something in your calendar. Or if you're good with your brain, go, okay, brain, come back to this, to come back, to take the next step. If not today, then next week or next month when you're ready. And I'm asking you to do this because I believe in it and because I think it's something that we do for each other, as much as for ourselves. But you're the one who has to do it, who has to take the action. So you got to do what works for you, which brings us to social platforms. We're real close to the end here. I don't want to cram too much information in, but the major social platforms work because people are on them. And we've seen X like deteriorate, Twitter, Jesus, when people had another option. We've seen platforms shut down, Vine, rest in peace. Like they are not immovable forces. So what it comes back to is like, what are you using the platform for? And what else is out there? Just like anything else. So here's what I want to do. I want to start using Instagram and Facebook, personally, me, for business purposes. They are business platforms. I made like a business Instagram account as an actor, and now anytime a friend sends me a meme, I get a pop-up that I can ignore but not dismiss, asking me if this conversation has been good for my business goals. It has not. It's been good for sharing Lord of the Rings memes. And this one's trickier for me, right? The platforms are tracking us like crazy. And I talked last week about how to fix your security settings on these platforms, but that doesn't change what the platform is. That doesn't change how the platform works. It doesn't fully protect you from their surveillance, and it doesn't change how the platform's algorithm is designed. It doesn't change which posts get rewarded or boosted or buried. So one question is, do we even want to replace them? And if so, what for? But I'm not trying to design a new platform. I want to talk about Mastodon. I have to admit, I haven't spent a lot of time on it. My instinct is to move away from social media anxiety entirely. Anxiety, Freudian slip. But that may not be possible. So something that I might get really annoying about soon is seeing which of my friends are willing to join me on that platform. Mastodon looks a lot like Twitter. Like Twitter, you have a feed, you can post pictures, you can post videos. I pulled up I only follow the Electronic Frontier Foundation right now. You can post pictures, you can post videos. The character count limit is 500 characters, plenty of space, but not too much space, right? You go and scroll so you can sort of see. It shows up chronologically, which I love. I really miss that about platforms. What's interesting about Mastodon is that it is a free and open source software platform. So it's not run or managed by a corporation or by corporate interests. It's a nonprofit. It doesn't have a motivation to feed you ads. It's also federated. That is a word that I love and always sort of struggle to explain. In some ways, it's simple. It's federation. It means a bunch of separate units that are united under a central, like, union, right? A federation of governments, for example. In technology, it means that a bunch of separate systems, in this case, communities, are operating separately, but can coexist and interact. Interoperability is a big word in technology for me. Like a lot of our Apple hates interoperability, but federation of technological platforms requires them to be able to operate with each other, right? So what this means for Mastodon is that you can join one community, let's say a gaming community, but follow whoever you want from whatever other communities exist. And all those communities can exist separately and set their own rules for engagement. So, policies and privacy policies and um, what are the rules, like what behavior is acceptable within this community, and how we engage with that is something that can be separate for each of those. You can join the ones that feel right for you, and know that you are in community with people who are following that. Um, there's a so these are called servers, right? Each of these communities is like a server. There is a green thumb server on Mastodon, but no one's created a theater server yet. I've been busy making this series, but someone should do that. I'd join it. We can keep our business accounts on business platforms for business reasons. We can customize alerts as needed or check apps as needed or just leave the app there until we need it. And by there, I mean your account on it. Delete it from your phone when you're not using it. But I want to keep a way to keep in touch with my friends, to actually be social, to see what people are up to without mixing in brands trying to sell me stuff. Like it's a fine line. I'm friends with people who make shows and people get on apps to promote their shows, but I'd rather get an invitation from a person than from a brand. Um, there is an Instagram. I don't have time to really get into a lot of this. And I'm not offering anything revolutionary. Discord, if you need a place to chat with your friends. Their privacy rules are not amazing, but they're not harvesting data the way that others are. It's, if you use Slack, it's the social version of Slack. I think the interface is better. PixelFed is like the Instagram version of Mastodon. There also isn't a theater server on PixelFed, but that's a lovely federated, community as well, that is not ad-based. And maybe I'm excited about these platforms. Maybe I'm optimistic. Maybe I'm overestimating our ability to get individual people on board, but we do get people to come see our shows, and I think that's pretty impressive. So for me, it would be enough to have a platform that is for the theater community. Maybe Mastodon doesn't have to be the place where I get all of the information from everyone I've ever met. If it was just a few friends and me sharing updates, I would be very happy to be on that platform. I'd also be very happy if there was a server for the theater community, and this is the place where I go to communicate and collaborate and engage with my theater community, rather than going to a platform that's ad-based, rather than going to a platform that is for profit, to have this commons space. Maybe it's not how we reach audiences, but a community where we reach each other, a community that wasn't pushing ads, that wasn't sorting our posts to optimize engagement, a place for us to yell at each other, because let's be real, that's all we want to do. That might be enough. Personally, I think HowlRound is well positioned to rally the community and get this party started. I will keep subtweeting them, sub-mastodoning them. But any of us could create this at any time. That's what an open source, federated, privacy respecting, community-based internet is about. I'm going to take a nap when the series is over. I have creative projects that I've been neglecting. I need to go back to my cave and nurture them. We all have our lives to lead, right? But the next party might be on Mastodon or on PixelFed, or maybe you're inspired to self-host a new open source platform. I don't know you. You can do anything. This is the internet. The early dreams of the internet were lawless, maybe too lawless, like the Wild West, right, of creativity and connection. Internet culture has, I won't say matured, but it's been shaped so deeply by these profit motivations and almost like satanic panic, like fears equating anonymity with threat. And bad things exist, and we have to find a way, I think, to protect ourselves. But we don't have to give up our privacy to do it. I really believe that. I really, really believe that this system is a Goliath. And it only works if we let it work. It is also a house of cards. It doesn't expect us to fight back. It doesn't expect us to do anything that doesn't result in profit gains because it can't imagine the value of anything other than money. And we work in theater. None of us got into this for the money. We got into this because our imaginations are so much bigger than what the corporate world could offer, because we could see possibilities for ourselves, for the world that hadn't happened yet. Like very few of us, I think, were given any indication that success was likely for us in a field that makes it so difficult to survive. And yet here we are doing something creative. We're statistically unlikely. We are the perfect people to push the world in a direction it hasn't gone yet. Imagining a better future is half the battle. The other half is making little choices that keep moving the needle. A new browser is a little choice. A VPN is a little choice. A nap and a treat and time with a good friend is a little choice. We are all made up of little choices. The data thinks it understands that. It thinks it can define that. It thinks it can collect all of this information on us and it can create a profile, but it can't actually understand what the choices mean. It can't actually tell our story. It can't actually always predict us, and it can't actually tell us what to do. Only we can do that. So thanks for listening to me. I hope something in this series helps you feel like you have more control over your digital life, and I hope you share it with someone. You don't have to share this video if you don't want to. I'm not in this for the like, follow, subscribe gambit. Just like go out into the world and change your mom's search engine the next time you're home. Okay, stay safe out there. Use protection. And thanks for joining me on the comments. Goodbye.